a tender yes. Wouldn't it be lovely if you and I could always say a tender yes to life and living? And that is our desire. So we're working on it. I'm knowing it. And so today, I mean, just before I came away from the pulpit, something crossed my mind, and it was a saying of Philo, who was existed about 30 before the Common Era to about 40 after the Common Era. And so what he had to say then, and he was a very, very well-known Jewish scholar, and he says, be kind to every person you meet, for every person you meet is fighting a great battle. Now, I don't know why that popped up, but it popped up and Spirit said share it. So I did. And it's not in the talk or anything, it's just that that's what we're supposed to think about. And it's not something I suppose we think, that everybody is in battle of some kind or another. So be kind. So that's our invitation. So today we're looking at this thing called free will. And there are all kinds of thinkings going on about free will. A lot of illusionary thought going on around it too. It's not something we quite fully understand. But today we're looking at it in a very definitive way, in a very special way. We're looking at it metaphysically, and we're looking at free will as the will or the freedom to think, to ponder, to dream, to imagine, to choose, to decide. That's the way we're looking at our free will. Every single one of us are free to do that, and no one can stop us. We are free to choose to think however we will think, to feel however we will feel, and no one can stop us. And that's the way we're looking at free will today, because it ties in very well with what we have been really getting on the inside of, and that's the law of assumption. It ties in very, very well with that, because we know that the power of our free will really goes into action when we understand the law of assumption and use it accordingly with that kind of understanding and that kind of intelligent choosing. And so again, the law of assumption is saying to us, you know, if you get clear about something that's a good that you desire, and you're really clear about it, and if you consciously choose to think in that way, to feel in that way, so that you can grow the conviction of this good being your entitlement, and already in your life at the mental level, then through your deep feeling around it and your deep conviction around it and your deep faith in it and your deep belief in it, you can flesh that out into being in a real experience in a three-dimensional way. Comes out of the realm of the invisible and makes itself visible in your life. Simply, it is the assuming of the good already being so. And because you assume the good already is so, it is so. Because what I expect, I experience. What I know happens. What I keep thinking about with feeling moves into my life as an experience. Now, I'm going to keep saying this to myself over and over again and sharing with you over and over again until we all get it sufficiently, so that we are actually becoming black belters in the law of assumption and using it empoweringly, because we can. Because our free will within our free will is our power, And our free will has to do with, at will, choosing the good that we desire to think about, to feel about, to be convicted about, and then to know it is so. Now here's the thing about this that we're going to move into now. Once we have assumed the feeling and the thinking of the good desired, and we know it's already in place, what then is there for us to do? Well, in response to that, Neville says, after free will there is nothing. He says, after free will, there is nothing. Because after free will is established in the law of assumption, everything automatically, harmoniously works together to bring through the good that we desire. So what do I do after I have assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled? I go about my business and I forget about it and I do nothing. Now I'll want to, I'll feel I need to, I'll feel I have to. There has to be something I can do because that's how we are, controllers. We want to do it all, interfere with every aspect of everything. And it is interference after that. All I have to do is to be clear on the good, assume the feeling and thinking of the good, believe it is already so, and it is so. That's my job. Now what happens once that happens, it's not just a simple thought or even a deep thought in my mind that happens and that's it. No. You have been combining energies. You've been working on energies. And then that energy is coalesced now and it is moved upon by a greater force than you. Moved upon by a great force. And you can call that force anything you want to call it and you'll never be able to name it. You can call it the Holy Spirit of life. You can call it infinite intelligence and action. You can call it the source of our being. You can call it the great I am. You can call it whatever. And you'll never succeed in naming it correctly. But however, as long as you know it's the great thing that is greater than you, it is the power, the presence, the force of infinite life within you, around you, about you, above you, below you, that created you out of everything. Everything came out of it. When you know that, why would you want to interfere with something greater than you that knows how to go about the business of creating the means by which this good is going to happen in your life? Why would you want to put your little sticky paws on it and prevent it from doing what it can do? Those itsy bitsy thoughts of yours that thinks they know how to do everything. Now, all you have to do is to be in the energy, be in the thinking that I am whatever it is, whole, complete, vibrantly pulsating in life as this amazing grace of spirit and form, living in a celebratory manner that uplifts, advances, and blesses everything within and without. That's all we have to be. But we like to distract ourselves of what we have to do because doing seems easier than being. And God forbid that we should be anything other than doing. You see? That's the conundrum. There's the challenge. All I have to do is be in the thinking, be in the feeling, be in the conviction, and keep my faith strong in it when the evidence is pointing to everything against it. When all of the facts say you're out of your mind. When everybody tells you you've buried your head in the sand. You have to keep on being in the conviction, in the assumption that the good that you have desired is there for you and you are supposed to have it. Like the good Emma Curtis Hopkins once said, my good is there for me and I'm supposed to have it. And that's it. It's that training of the mind and the emotion to come into compliance with the truth and to stop allowing the facts to get in the way of the truth. Because facts are not always true. And yet the facts have often been presented to us as truth. We used to think at one time that the earth was the hub of the universe and everything oscillated around it. Well, we know that's not true anymore, don't we? There are certain things in your life that you thought were true at one stage and they weren't. You thought that Auntie so-and-so or Grand Auntie so-and-so was a this, that, and the other, and then you discovered, oh my gosh, it wasn't that at all. That was just a family myth. Or whatever. Or whatever. Be constant in your desire to know the truth always, because it sets us free from lack thereof. And we can all cope with the truth. It's lack of the truth we cannot cope with. So, in going about the business then of living the kind of life that we want to live, what helps us to get into that position of being able to, like that, assume the feeling and the conviction of the desire already fulfilled? We have to create for ourselves a greater mental environment and emotional landscape. We have to call ourselves to a higher mindset. We have to go to higher altitudes in the way we think, so that we can create a more beauteous landscape in the way we feel. Because our thinking affects our feeling, and our feeling affects our thinking. It's a glob like this. You can't separate the two and say this and this. It's all mushed up together. Thinking and feeling come at the same time. You might not think that or feel that, but it does, because that's how life is. It's all like this. It's not like this. That's the way it is. And sometimes I'm in this blob here, and sometimes I'm way out there in that blob over there, or down here in that blob there, but it's all the same thing. Swishing, 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 swishing. It's like the lava lamps, you know. So every thought is an important thought, and every feeling is an important feeling. And you and I cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. There's a book called that. That's the whole title. We cannot afford the luxury of a negative thought. Unless, of course, we don't care. We roll the dice and say whatever happens, happens. But you are empowered. You are intelligent. You've been given everything you need in order to flourish and to thrive, and so have I. And look how we squander that ability at times. I know I have. We squander too much of a good thing. And so, here's the kicker. And you have to understand this at the deep level that you can understand it, as do I. We must go there. It's not just a pretty, interesting, little holy phrase to hear. I of myself do nothing. It is the power of the Father within me that doeth the work. This is one of the most profound statements regarding the law of assumption that you'll ever hear. Now, the Father in this case is Spirit, Source, the great I am. I could say, I of myself do nothing. It is the great I am within me that doeth the work. Source, God, infinite intelligence is always I am. I am. The will of God is always I am. Unlike ours, because mostly our will is I will be. I will be. But Spirit is always I am. Always present in the presence, in the present. I am. So, if I am still in the will be's, I will be, I'm assuming that I know very little about the law of assumption because I haven't assumed bupkis. If I'm still after I have assumed that my good is there for me and it's present now, and I'm going on and saying, well, it will be, it will be, it will be, I didn't get it. I'm not with it. The will-bes don't exist. There is no will-be. There's only I am. I am now. I am here. And as I said last Sunday, it's always today. Isn't that funny? It's never yesterday. It's never tomorrow. It's always now. It's always today. And tomorrow is just a concept that's illusionary, as is yesterday a concept that's illusionary, because in metaphysical terms, in spiritual terms, in heavenly terms, in godly terms, it's always the eternal now and the everlasting present moment. There is no, God is not bound by time. There is no time. There's no chronos. Do you think God has a watch? I'll give them now another 3 days, another 20 years, and we'll see. It's always now. Now, I know that's a difficult concept to get our minds around. Of course it is, because we're endeavoring to look at an infinite thing with the finite mind. But there's something below the finite mind that knows. And that's why we keep endeavoring. Because there's something in us greater than we are that knows all of this, that knows the truth, that has full revelation of it. That's what enlightenment is all about, waking up and remembering, oh gosh, I already knew all this stuff. I knew that once upon a time, except there is no once upon a time. But don't you know how we love stories? Once upon a time. I love to hear that now because it's some of the first words I ever heard. Once upon a time in a faraway land. And for us our good is always once upon a time in a faraway land. It's always in a faraway land. Oh, tomorrow, mañana, where would we be without mañana? Well, we'd be the better off without mañana. We would. So you and I have to make up our minds, are we going to take all of this stuff, spiritual stuff, seriously? Or are we just going to say, oh, it's nice, you know, maybe one day I'll get it? There is no one day, it's now. You're supposed to get it right now. You're supposed to say, yeah, I know, I got it, it's great. My life has changed. I'm walking through these doors, changed person. My life has changed because I know I don't have to worry anymore. I don't have to be afraid anymore. I don't have to be concerned anymore because I am. Not I will be. I am right here and right now because of my free will to choose, to decide, to dream, to imagine, to know, to feel that what good I so desire desires me more than I desire it, and it's present to me now. I just have to let it out. Because all healing is the revealing of what already is within me, knowing itself as whole and healthy and well, whether it's in my mind or whether it's in my affairs or whether it's in my body or whether it's in my soul, whatever it is, I just have to know it with conviction and trust the creative process of my life to provide the means for me to flesh that out into my actual experience so that I can say, and so it is. And so it is. And so indeed it is. You can do this by being in that state of awareness that knows it is the will of the divine that you should flourish, that you should thrive, that you should have great abundance in all aspects of your life and living, that your joy should be complete, and that you should know the peace that passes understanding. It's the only will of God, of life for you. You and I have to make it our own will as well. That's how it happens. And it doesn't matter what your life story is until now. If you could have been the most debauched person on the planet, it matters nothing. You could be the most saintly person the world has ever known. It doesn't matter. It's equal. It's even, Stephen. If you catch the consciousness of it, right now. All that karmic stuff gets burnt up, ceases to be, because it never was you. It was an illusion, just an illusion. And look how well we live our illusions, my dear ones. Isn't it time to stop the nonsense? Isn't it time to know the truth that sets us free? And the only way you're going to know it is to go inside of yourself and reveal it, because it's already there. Fully orbed, empowered, loaded with the radiant infinite intelligence and know-how of life. Absolutely chomping at the bit to assist you if you would just let it. It wants to. This beautiful, amazing grace wants to assist us in every possible which way. But we have to allow it. It has to be invited. It has to be given. That wonderful vessel, channel, space to flow through. We have to stop blocking ourselves and stopping ourselves and gumming ourselves up with all kinds of naysaying that keeps saying, you can't, you can't, you can't. And instead we have to know, I can because I am. That's why I can. I am and I am. I'm not and I will be. I am and I am. I am is your essential first name. I am is your name. I am that I am. I am that good I desire, that I am. Right here and right now. So get up off your lazy spiritual derrieres and start to move into the truth of your being and start living by thinking and feeling the truth of who and what you are, and see how the floodgates of heaven will not open and pour so many graces and blessings upon you that you won't be able to stand it. It's so good. You'll be jazzed out of yourself. And that's what we're here to know today, and so it is.